propose 15,000 for next year. Okay.
And Dr. Thornton, the current budget has a 1 FTE reduction, just 1 FTE reduction.
The net effect of one, and as I mentioned, I don't know if you were at the meeting, right now we have several jobs that are open, so there's no one actually working who would be reduced. These are open jobs right now, but a net of one, minus one, yes. Not counting anything happens tonight.
Madam Chair, may I interject one thing? So that line item that that Mr. Collins was referring to, that $15,000, the $10,000 in previous years, it wasn't professional development money. What that was, if you see it says District Curriculum Committee. And so when Bob was the assistant superintendent, he had a district curriculum committee that was composed of several teachers and people across the district. And from what I remember, the CTE paid for half of that money for those individuals to be a part of that, and the district paid for half. That's what that money was, and so that money went on. I dissolved that, so that money was there in the event that we had any type of work to do, and so I think we just said, you know what, let's spend it on PD, and that's where the 15,000 now is there.
And that money is available for teachers. So, you know, we're here with a high school achievement meeting on Monday, and, you know, you have AP teachers, you have new teachers, teachers who need to be retrained, recertified. That 50, which isn't, you know, it's not gonna eat up the whole thing, but will teachers be allowed to access that fund to go to those trainings? Is that the line item that they would use?
Yeah, so the request for PD would come first approval by the building administrators. It has to pass through, you know, the building administrators have to say, yes, I value this, I want this for the building. Then they send that over to me, and you know, typically I approve them. Most recently, actually, Mr. Costa had sent over a pre-calculus PD. I think it was like a $650 request. I went back to him, spoke to him about whether or not it was beneficial to the district and the community, or did the teacher just want to learn about this particular piece. So there's that back and forth. I make sure that, you know, we protect the funds, and if I have any type of questions, I'll go to Dr. Thornton and get his final okay on it.
And these are all just essentially follow-up questions from conversations we've had over the last couple months. And the budget is also reflective, and I know, I think Mr. Costa had put this in his budget, but the Albert software that we had discussed.
Yeah, so your suggestion, it did make it. Melissa Kuzinitz had done the research on it, got us the pricing, and it made the original budget for the superintendent.
Excellent. It's the AP, and you can use it for other things eventually. And I think Albert's good because I think eventually you can use it for RICAS or any other, because they have standardized testing. They just don't have the standardized testing we have, and I think they offer things for MLL. They have the ability, but it's primarily for AP. The College Board is like a kind of a cheaper version because we buy into it for the testing, but it's inadequate, grossly inadequate. And Albert's a superior product, and it's even for your department, just breaking down. I showed her like breaking down the data and just really narrowing in on specific standards and all across the AP curriculum. And you can use it for the state testing, and it's even just good for math practice. You can use it for the whole curriculum, but I don't know what specifically. That's obviously what you want to use it for is going to be, but it's good to have available, and I think the teachers are going to appreciate it, and the students.
Are there any other comments or questions about the proposed budget as it is right now, before we go into the potential amendments? Yeah.
So, in case you're not aware, preschool has been inundated this year. It's really the result of COVID. There was 5 early intervention agencies that closed down. That means kids weren't receiving service. We have referrals coming out our ears. We just had to add a 3rd day, in the week to listen to referrals. And when we listen to referrals, usually about 2/3 of those will end up being eligible. We have to evaluate further and eligible. Another big issue is that they're coming in without any evaluations. Prior to COVID, EI stopped evaluating. They were told they didn't have to, so they didn't. So we were picking up evaluations, but now with COVID, we have kids coming in with nothing from the CNDC, nothing, they used to at least come in with something. We're getting absolutely nothing. So the testing that's occurring at preschool is intense. And I talked to Dr. Thurton earlier this week when we realized that right now at this time of year, we're have 32 referrals, active referrals as we speak, which usually in a year we do about 100 referrals. We're already at 80, and we still have to get through August. So we still have quite a few months to go because the referrals are rolling. The other big issue is we're getting 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds. Well, typically we get a 3.5-year-old. We're now getting the grades, all of those ages. So my solution to the absolute burden on preschool, I'm even looking at those number of days that we're meeting, that requires a special educator, a school psychologist, all those other things, is I think the most cost-effective, easy, and efficient way is if we could increase our 6.6 school psychologists to 7 school psychologists. I could assign the additional, that I could give an entire school psychologist to preschool in order to help with the testing. That would take the burden off teachers also testing because they can do these arena tests, and the school psychologist can do that piece of it for us. That would mean that right now the 0.6 is at BF Norton. I would increase that, so a full one, and then we go back to sharing between Garvin and BF Norton, most likely is how I divide it, and give preschool a full one. I think that's probably what, about 30 grand? 0.4 or so?
About 34. quick math.
34 grand. To me, it would be the most cost-effective and efficient way to really help out, because they really are struggling in keeping up with the volume. I'm giving them a day, a week, because just to help with referrals. So I did respectfully request that, if we could add that.
So when we look at the 34K that you're asking for, I have the community facilitator amount. What is the salary range, the top, just to be on the safe side for a TA?
If you add all these together, you're probably equaling the anticipated potential state aid increase. The 21 kids, if it held up and you got the 249, it'd be similar to what we're talking about today.
No, what I'm asking is, what I'm trying to figure out if we're gonna ask for these amendments, I'm just trying to figure out the real money amount, so TA would be 45, in the MLO, position, one position times 2.
Depends on the step and the medical plan. Mr. Pernod typically puts in a step 5.
Okay,
So we could,
okay, fair enough.
so,
I'm just trying to get an idea myself. Okay. Fair enough.
so then we would come to the Thursday meeting with our budget plus
A
the
spreadsheet of what you give
proposed
our homework.
amendments, what the dollar amount impact would be.
Yeah.
And so the amendments that I think we want to see are the 2 certified teachers, the 1 TA, the 1 community liaison, and the 0.4 school psychologist.
And I think also, I know the building administrators are all, well, for the most part, are all here. If there's anything that you want to ask for, I think now would be the time, while we're going through this, so I don't know if that's allowed or anything like that. Dr. Santos
Goes to
spoke up, and
Dr.
I know you don't want to do it in defiance of something maybe
No,
Dr. Thorne told you, but,
No, in the end, I have no problem with open discussion. At the end, we just get Bill to pay for it, that's all. We just
yeah,
gotta-
sure.
This is a good conversation right now. We just gotta come back to you with the numbers.
Okay, Mr. Fiorillo.
Dr. Santa, I asked this question at the last week's meeting. We have no current increases in mental health support in the district. I know we have a need. Should we be budgeting for at least one more position somewhere in the district, or, additional time with some of the other positions?
Students, because keep in mind, people like to think that social workers and school psychologists only work that's really horrible. And that's pre-COVID. When we're really having a hard time keeping with the demand. I don't know what to tell you. Again, my professional recommendation, minimum, would be 3 additional social workers. But then when we asked to budget that, I don't have 3 things to cut.
Right.
I have 75 more kids in special ed, I have preschool coming out my years, there's nowhere for me to cut.
And keep in mind, you have to juxtapose the need versus what we can maybe pull off. Keep in mind, that's at 3 ends next June of '24, 15 jobs, maybe we can save 3, let's say. So 12 jobs go away, juxtaposed to adding anything we're gonna add, right? So it's always that push-pull.
That's why I haven't requested that ad, because I just feel it's considering it, I don't think it's cut, to offer for the people, I push it down a little bit, there's nothing to me to cut. So, that's why I have not put that into the proposal. Take that as a professional opinion, and all that, minimum,
What would one social worker cost approximately?
Well, same thing, probably not step 5 in those cases, those are hard to find, could be a step 8,
So
step
basically,
10.
100 grand.
could be.
Okay,
We'll have that sheet for you next week.
all right. Any other comments or questions from the school committee? Mr. Fiorello?
Dr. Thorne, I wasn't able to find it in the budget just now, but are we increasing our line item for legal services?
We did bump it up a little bit based on actual, Mr. Pignano, another 15, 20. While he's finding that, we bumped it up for 2 reasons. First, the actual use. Second, HR will change in terms of how we have that person in there, probably not an attorney. So I have to call probably in some more mundane things. So for the mundane piece and just the actual, we bumped it up. Keep in mind, this year, we had a couple personnel matters that really, we had some hours there for those personnel matters. That was probably a big piece of it.
All right, well, seeing, Mr. Collins, do you have?
I have it all queued up. I would like to propose an amendment, make a motion to add to the superintendent's budget, the position of 2 MLL FTEs, 1 TA, 1 community facilitator, and a .4 school psychologist position.
So Mr. Collins makes a motion on these school budget amendments. Do we have a second for discussion? Okay.
Oh, sorry. So with this, we'll get a fiscal note attached to it, so we can see the impact on the budget at the next meeting? Okay.
Probably early next week. We'll have the information for you.
My very basic math has it at about 234,000, based on, that would be the approximation, so I'm sure you'll obviously have an accurate, but I think it's very important to get this on the budget, so we can have have it on there when we vote next week, and then pass it over to the town.
We have potentially a revenue of $300,000 that we may not get, that we're gonna have to make an adjustment for also. We'll know a little bit more, I think, next week on that. So this would be 300 plus that, the state aid won't cover it all, so there'll have to be some other reductions in the budget you'll have to make.
Mr. Fiorello?
I'd prefer to wait on Mr. Collins' amendment until we have offsetting adjustments to the budget. Also, once we know exactly what the expectation of salaries and actual numbers are. There is no rush to do it tonight versus next week.
And my understanding was that we would wait until Thursday, until we had all the information in front of us, because on Thursday, we can vote to make the amendments and then vote on the budget at the same
We'll get the
time,
information out before then.
We'll have it on
Yeah, so
Tuesday,
we'll have
Monday,
that
Monday,
information.
Tuesday.
ahead of time.
I'll
And
probably
I-
do it
so-
tomorrow.
And with 3 members not here tonight, I think we should save this for Thursday. But we do have a motion and we have a second. So we'll take a vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So we have 2 in favor and 2 opposed.
I just want to clarify, I'm not opposed to the amendments. I just want to wait till next week, that's all.
So we have a tie vote there. So we have to take another,
But Ty, the motion fails.
the motion fails. Okay. So, but to Mr. Fiorella's point, it's not that we don't agree with this. We just want to see all the data in front of us and we can make that decision on Thursday.
Yeah, because it's good, you're gonna have to increase individual budgets. There'll be a number of line items that'll be touched. It's just not gonna be whatever that number is, $1 amount thrown into the budget will go to a
Right.
number.
You have to put it in a lot of different places.
Plus, you have to come up with the money from other parts of the budget.
Gamble on the state aid for a portion of it, but there's still gonna be more than, well, there'll be more needed than the state aid projection.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Fiorella. Second by Ms. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. We're adjourned at 7:55 PM. Thank you very much, everyone.